In this episode, we're going to cover the most important concepts in ICH Q13. We're going to talk about the differences between continuous and batch-based manufacturing processes. How do you even define a batch when the process doesn't stop? The three types of continuous manufacturing processes that are outlined in the guideline: control strategies, handling disturbances, and notably things like validation, release, and normal lifecycle management considerations. Now, if it's your first time here, I'm Subi. I'm a consultant, trainer, and auditor, and I've spent my whole career in pharma and medical device quality, research and development, and commercialization. ICH Q13 is really interesting because it forces us to reconsider a kind of fundamental consideration when we develop and manage our products, and that is, what is a batch? Batches are how we do traceability, how we do investigations, how we do trending, how we do release. And that's the central challenge that ICH Q13 goes through. How do you apply traditional quality concepts if a manufacturing process never stops? Let's start with the difference between batch and continuous manufacturing. Most of us are familiar with batch or lot-based manufacturing. You start a process, you manufacture a defined quantity of material, you stop the process, and that collection of what you produced becomes your batch or your lot. Continuous manufacturing works differently because material is continuously fed into a process and product is continually produced. And rather than operating with discrete start and end points, the process functions more or less as an ongoing flow. And despite the fact that it's called continuous manufacturing, regulators still expect manufacturers to define batches. And like we said, that's really important because your quality system depends on batches. Your investigations, your recalls, your releases, your trending, stability programs, they're all organized by batch. So this is one of the topics that ICH Q13 is very quick to speak to early on in the guideline. And it says that there are really three main ways that you can describe a batch. That's time, mass, or campaign-based, but it also gives flexibility if there are other scientific rationales for how to define a batch, and you can just define that in your submission. When I first learned about continuous manufacturing conceptually, I kind of thought of a flow of a process where everything is all in one, and you start with your input materials and you end up with finished product. But ICH Q13 recognizes that continuous manufacturing can happen in different forms. So the first one is where you have drug substance and drug product together, and you're forming your drug substance and it's getting processed into drug product immediately. The next one is where certain elements of an operation are batch mode while others are integrated into a continuous process. In other words, where one piece of a process is continuous, whereas the rest are not. Then you have a manufacturing approach where it's fully integrated drug substance by itself or fully integrated drug product, where drug substance is constantly being manufactured or drug product is being constantly manufactured. Now, a technical concept that I think is important to go through when discussing ICH Q13 is this concept of residence time distribution, or RTD. And RTD describes how material moves through a process and how long it spends within a given unit within the operation. And this matters because imagine you find out that you have a disturbance in a manufacturing process. Maybe one element drifts out of specification or a process parameter moves out of its intended range. In a batch process, you know which batch was affected, but in continuous manufacturing, because you have constant production, you don't. And so RTD allows you to understand how long a material spends in a process and how it mixes while moving through. And so it allows a manufacturer to determine which portion of the material was which portion of the material experienced the disturbance and which portion didn't. And having that capability is critical for traceability because it allows you to identify which material was affected, define the boundaries for the material, and it allows you to quarantine, investigate, and if you need to divert only the impacted segments of a batch rather than having to scrap or reject a huge quantity of product that would otherwise be acceptable. And in many ways, RTD is one of those tools for continuous manufacturing that make it practical from a quality perspective. And so one way that they do this is through a tracer, where they may include a tracer material, run a process and see for that tracer how long did it spend in the process. And then using that kind of methodology, they can say, well, we know that we had a disturbance at this point. If we continue to run the process within parameter, then after a certain amount of time, we're back under control. Now, on this channel, we've talked a lot about control strategies, but in a traditional batch manufacturing process, it's often demonstrated at the end of a batch. You may have IPC throughout, but when it comes to continuous processes, your control needs to be demonstrated continuously, common theme. And the control strategy needs to make sure that it defines how you monitor your process during startup, during your normal operations, and during any disturbances that may occur. And it needs to establish, decision rules for when is the material collected, if you need to divert material, how does that happen, what conditions are considered acceptable, how will deviations be managed if your process doesn't stop. And it's also important to note that because these processes often require a lot of investment, they tend to have more integrated process analytical technology, or PAT, on the equipment or as part of the manufacturer or control process. And for the control strategy, it's really important to have traceability considerations. We've used the word disturbance a couple times so far on this video, and that's another concept that we're going to talk about, which is disturbance handling. A disturbance is any departure from a normal process condition that could potentially impact product quality, and not all disturbances are the same. Some may be small and brief, others may be significant and prolonged. And Q13 encourages manufacturers to understand disturbances in terms of three factors. And those are magnitude, duration, and frequency. Magnitude is how far did the process move away from the duration is how long did that condition proceed, how long did the disturbance last. And then frequency is how often did the disturbance occur. And because of that, it allows organizations to be able to make more targeted and scientifically justified decisions. The last thing I wanted to emphasize here is that Q13 doesn't replace some of the principles that are outlined in other guidelines. It just speaks to how to handle those considerations for continuous manufacturing processes, because you still need validation, you still need to be able to release product, and you still need to manage changes using a risk-based approach. Difference with continuous manufacturing is how these activities are conducted just based on the type of process that it is. And so one of the things that's different is that validation, evidence for your validation, may be generated from process performance over time rather than relying on a certain number of batches like traditionally you would. Also, release may be released based on process parameters, like parametric release may be more of a consideration. Parametric release is typically used for a sterilization process, but you may be able to have a scientific-based, parameter-based release process instead of doing product testing. But process analytical technology plays a role, like we said, in the continuous manufacturing processes, maybe more so than traditional processes. For release, you may use more real-time monitoring rather than finished product release testing after your entire batch has been manufactured as part of the overall control and release strategy, if you have the justification and scientific rationale to do that. And for lifecycle management, and changes may not only impact product, process, or equipment. There may be additional impact assessments that you may have to do, like on your process analytical technology, if you have, and if it has any impact on how you define how long your batches run. So that is it for ICH Q13. It's answering the question, how do you maintain the traceability, control, and confidence in your process if your process never stops? You still need a batch, you still need traceability, you still need a control strategy, you still need validation, and you still have to manage changes. But what's different is how you handle those things may be a little bit different given the nature of the process. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to email me at subi@letscombinate.com or leave a comment below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and if you enjoyed this episode, please share it on LinkedIn or anywhere that you think it would be valuable, and I will see you in the next episode.